The galactic census. The massive ship floated silently in the darkness beyond Earth's moon. Its hull gleamed with the silver-blue metal that marked all vessels of the Galactic Confederation's Department of Xenological Assessment. Inside the ship's main laboratory, Zexhai of the Veltar Collective stared at the small blue planet through the observation window. His four eyes blinked in sequence as he watched the tiny world spin slowly in the void. Zexhai had been doing this job for 300 years. He had cataloged over 2,000 different species across the galaxy. Some were so dangerous that entire star systems had to be quarantined. Others were so advanced that they could destroy planets with a thought. But this little world seemed different. It seemed almost peaceful. "Begin the assessment," Zexhai said to his team. The other aliens around him started working at their control panels. Screens filled with data as their scanners examined every inch of the planet below. Dr. Klix, a tall creature with tentacles instead of arms, looked up from her station. "The dominant species appears to be called humans," she reported. "They are bipedal mammals with no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no poison, no armor plating. What about their physical capabilities?" asked Zexhai. "Very poor," replied another team member. Thorx the Mighty from the warrior planet Grimhold. Even Thorx, despite his fearsome appearance, sounded almost sorry for the humans. "They can only run about 30 kilometers per hour at best. Most other species can run much faster. Their strength is also very limited. They cannot even lift objects weighing more than a few hundred kilograms." Zexhai made notes on his datapad. This was already looking like one of the lowest threat assessments he had ever conducted. "What about their senses?" "Also very poor," said Dr. Klix. "They can only see a tiny part of the light spectrum. Their hearing is limited. Their sense of smell is almost useless compared to most species. They cannot even sense electromagnetic fields or radiation without special equipment." The team continued their assessment for several hours. They studied human cities, human technology, and human behavior. The more they learned, the more harmless humans appeared to be. "Their technology is very primitive," reported Technician Vorp, a small gray alien with large black eyes. "They have only just begun to explore their own solar system. Their weapons are crude chemical explosives and simple projectile devices. They still use fossil fuels for most of their energy needs." "Have they achieved faster-than-light travel?" asked Zexhai. "No," said Vorp. "They do not even understand the basic principles. Our scans show they think faster-than-light travel might be impossible." Zexhai almost felt sorry for the poor creatures. In a galaxy full of species that could travel between stars as easily as walking across a room, these humans were trapped on their single small world. "What about their social structure?" he asked. Dr. Klix pulled up new data on her screen. "They are divided into many small groups called nations. These nations often fight each other over resources and territory. They seem unable to unite even their own species, let alone pose any threat to galactic civilization. Their largest conflicts involve maybe a few million individuals at most," added Thorx. "Compare that to the Korthak Empire, where a single battle fleet contains 50 billion warriors." The assessment continued for 3 full days. The team examined every aspect of human civilization. They looked at human art, human science, human philosophy, and human dreams. Everywhere they looked, they found the same thing: a species that was trying its best but was simply too weak and primitive to matter. On the final day, Zexhai called his team together to review their findings. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," he said, reading from his notes. "Humans have no natural weapons, limited physical abilities, poor senses, primitive technology, and cannot even unite their own planet. Is this accurate?" "Yes, sir," replied the team in unison. "Have we missed anything? Any hidden abilities? Any secret technologies?" Dr. Klix checked her scanners one more time. "Nothing, sir. What you see is what you get with this species. They are exactly as harmless as they appear." Zexhai nodded and began typing his final report. As the senior assessor, his words would determine how the Galactic Confederation would treat humanity for the next 1,000 years. "Species designation, Homo sapiens," he dictated. "Planet designation, Earth Sol System. Threat level assessment." He paused, considering his words carefully. In his 3 centuries of work, he had never given a species a threat level below 15 out of 100. Even the most peaceful grass-eating creatures on paradise worlds scored at least 20. simply because they might accidentally damage something if they panicked. Threat level assessment, 0.2 out of 100, he continued. Several members of his team looked surprised. Even they had expected a slightly higher score. Reasoning for assessment: Homo sapiens lacks any significant natural defenses, advanced technology, or unified social structure. The species shows no capability for interstellar travel or large-scale warfare. Their most advanced weapons would be considered toys by galactic standards. Their fastest vehicles would be considered slow by galactic standards. Their strongest individuals would be considered weak by galactic standards. Zexai paused again, looking out at the blue planet one more time. He felt a strange sense of protectiveness toward these harmless creatures. They reminded him of small children playing with blocks, completely unaware of the vast and dangerous universe around them. Recommendation: minimal contact protocols, he concluded. This species poses no conceivable threat to galactic civilization or any member species thereof. Standard quarantine procedures are unnecessary. If contact becomes necessary, any single galactic citizen should be capable of handling the entire human military without assistance. He sent the report to the Galactic Council and ordered his ship to move on to the next system. As they departed, he took one last look at Earth through the window. The little blue world grew smaller and smaller until it was just another dot of light among the stars. Poor little creatures, he murmured to himself. I hope they find happiness on their tiny world. Behind him, his team was already preparing for their next assignment. There were rumors of a dangerous new species in the Andromeda Spiral that might require a full military assessment. After dealing with such a harmless species as humanity, they were eager to face a real challenge again. None of them noticed the small human satellite that had been quietly observing their ship for the past 3 days. None of them saw the data being transmitted to a secret facility, hidden deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, and none of them realized that every scan they had made of Earth had been carefully monitored, recorded, and analyzed by the very species they had just declared utterly harmless. As the alien ship disappeared into the darkness between the stars, the satellite continued its silent watch. Down on Earth, in a room full of computers and screens, a small group of humans studied the alien technology they had just observed. They had learned more about faster-than-light travel in 3 days than their best scientists had discovered in 50 years of research. Dr. Sarah Chen, the director of Earth's most secret research facility, smiled as she watched the alien ship's energy signature fade from her screens. Well, she said to her team, that was educational. The compensation decree 2 years had passed since Zexai's assessment team had visited Earth. In the great crystal halls of the Galactic Council on the planet Nexus Prime, politicians from 1,000 different worlds gathered for their annual session. The air hummed with the sound of universal translators working overtime as creatures of every shape and size debated the issues of the day. Council Speaker Morth Ak called the session to order with a deep, resonating tone that his species used for formal occasions. His massive form covered in blue-green scales towered over the speaking platform. Around him, the circular chamber buzzed with quiet conversation as representatives found their seats. Today we address item 743 on our agenda, announced Morthak. The matter of the newly discovered species in Sector 7739B, commonly known as humans. A small murmur went through the crowd. Most of the council members had read the assessment report, and many had been surprised by the incredibly low threat rating. It was unusual for the council to spend time discussing such a harmless species, but there were other factors to consider. Councillor Vextra of the Merchant Guild stood up to speak. Her silver robes sparkled as she moved, and her voice carried the musical tone that her species used for business discussions. Honored colleagues, she began, while these humans pose no threat to anyone, we must consider the ethical implications of our expansion into their space. She activated a holographic display that showed the Sol system and surrounding star regions. Red lines marked the shipping routes that galactic civilization used for trade between the outer rim worlds and the core systems. Unfortunately, these routes pass directly through human space. Our cargo ships travel through this region daily, Vextra continued. While we maintain proper stealth protocols, there is always a chance that the humans might detect our presence. This could cause them psychological trauma, as they are not yet ready for contact with galactic civilization. Counselor Thrack of the Military Oversight Committee stood up next. His species looked like walking mountains of gray rock, and his voice sounded like boulders grinding together. The humans present no military threat, he rumbled. But our presence in their space could be seen as an invasion if they ever develop the technology to detect us. While this is unlikely, we should consider the legal implications. Several other council members nodded in agreement. The Galactic Confederation had strict laws about interfering with primitive civilizations. Even accidentally frightening a pre-contact species could result in serious legal penalties. Counselor Yithara of the Ethics Committee rose to speak. Her species resembled tall, graceful trees with silver bark and golden leaves that rustled when she moved. "My fellow representatives," she said in her gentle, musical voice, "I have reviewed the assessment of these humans, and I am deeply moved by their situation." She activated her own holographic display, showing images of Earth that Zexai's team had recorded. Pictures of human cities, human families, and human children filled the air above the council chamber. "Look at these creatures," Yithara continued. "They are completely defenseless in a galaxy full of dangers they cannot even imagine. They have no idea that hundreds of our ships pass through their system every day. They have no idea that their nearest neighbors include the Korthak Empire, the Zephyrian war clans, and the Crystal Collective." The chamber fell silent as the council members studied the images. Many of them had never seen humans before, and they were struck by how small and fragile the creatures appeared. "These humans are trying so hard to understand their universe," Yithara said softly. "They build telescopes to study the stars. They send small probes to explore their neighboring planets. They dream of traveling to other worlds someday, and they have no idea how impossible that dream seems to be." Counselor Grix of the Scientific Exchange stepped forward. His species looked like giant insects with multiple arms and compound eyes. "The humans show remarkable curiosity for such a primitive species," he clicked in his rapid, chittering voice. "Their scientific progress is actually quite impressive for a species with such limited natural abilities. Given enough time, perhaps 10 or 20,000 years, they might even achieve basic interstellar flight." More murmurs went through the chamber. 10 or 20,000 years was considered very fast development by galactic standards. Most species took much longer to advance from their current level to interstellar civilization. Morthak called for order and asked if anyone else wished to speak. Counselor Zephyr of the Compassionate Alliance requested permission to address the chamber. "My friends," Zephyr said in the gentle tones his species used for emotional subjects, "I propose that we take action to help these poor creatures. They cannot defend themselves, they cannot travel to other worlds, and they are completely alone in a vast and dangerous universe. Surely we have a moral obligation to assist them." "What do you suggest?" asked Morthak. Zephyr smiled, an expression that looked strange on his dolphin-like face. "I suggest we give them a gift. We have been using their space for our convenience without their knowledge or permission. The least we can do is offer them some compensation." The chamber erupted in discussion. The idea of giving gifts to primitive species was not unheard of, but it was usually done only in cases where the galactic civilization had accidentally caused some harm. Counselor Vextra spoke up again. "What kind of gift did you have in mind? We cannot give them advanced technology, as that would violate the non-interference protocols." "Not technology," replied Zephyr. "Space. These humans are crowded onto their single small world, dreaming of expansion but unable to achieve it. We could give them a star system of their own, somewhere they could expand to when they eventually develop space travel." The discussion continued for hours. Some council members thought the idea was unnecessary. Others worried about the legal implications. But gradually a consensus began to form. Counselor Yithara proposed the final resolution. "I move that the Galactic Council approve the Harmless Species Reparations Act. Under this act, we will grant the human species full rights to the Kepler 442 system, including all planets, moons, asteroid belts, and space-based resources therein." Morthak called for a vote. The resolution passed by an overwhelming majority. Only a few representatives abstained and none voted against it. As the council session ended, many of the representatives felt pleased with themselves. They had done something good for a species that could never repay them. It was the kind of generous gesture that made galactic civilization feel proud of its moral progress. The gift was generous indeed. The Kepler 442 system contained 3 habitable planets. 2 gas giants perfect for atmospheric mining, and 17 asteroid belts rich in rare metals. It was worth more than some entire star nations, but to the Galactic Confederation, it was a small price to pay for peace of mind. The Council ordered the gift to be delivered through carefully planned indirect contact. A small probe would be sent to Earth's solar system, carrying a message in mathematical language that the humans would eventually be able to decode. The message would inform them of their new star system and provide basic coordinates. None of the Council members expected the humans to be able to use their gift for thousands of years. It was meant to be a symbolic gesture, something the humans would appreciate when they finally became advanced enough to understand it. As the representatives returned to their home worlds, they felt satisfied with their generosity. They had helped the galaxy's most defenseless species, and it had cost them almost nothing. What none of them realized was that their gift had just provided humanity with exactly what it needed most: motivation, resources, and a target destination for the secret faster-than-light drive that Dr. Sarah Chen's team had been developing ever since they had scanned the alien assessment ship 2 years earlier. The rapid expansion 50 years had passed since the Galactic Council had given humanity the Kepler 442 system. In the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, an emergency session was being called to address a situation that no one had expected. Councillor Morthak, now showing his age with graying scales, called the meeting to order. His voice carried a note of confusion that was rare for the usually confident council speaker. "Fellow representatives," he began, "we are here today to discuss reports that have been coming in from the human territories. Reports that, frankly, none of our experts can explain." A holographic star map appeared above the chamber, showing the region of space around Earth. The Sol system glowed blue to mark humanity's original home. The Kepler 442 system glowed green to show their gifted territory. But there were other lights on the map now. Yellow lights. Lots of them. "According to our long-range sensors," Morthak continued, "humans now have active settlements in 12 star systems. This is far beyond what our models predicted." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Many of the council members leaned forward in their seats, studying the map more carefully. Councillor Vextra stood up, her silver robes now showing signs of wear from decades of service. "Speaker Morthak, there must be some mistake. Our best scientists calculated that humans would need at least 300 years to develop basic interstellar travel. It has only been 50 years since we gave them the Kepler system." "There is no mistake," replied Morthak grimly. "Our monitoring stations have confirmed human presence in all 12 systems. They appear to have functioning colonies, mining operations, and regular traffic between their worlds." The chamber erupted in confused discussion. Representatives from hundreds of species all tried to understand how such a primitive civilization could have advanced so quickly. Councillor Grix, his compound eyes reflecting the light from the star map, clicked nervously as he spoke. "Perhaps we made an error in our original assessment? Perhaps humans were more advanced than we realized." "I have reviewed Zexhi's original report multiple times," said Morthak. "There was no evidence of faster-than-light technology. There was no evidence of interstellar capability. The humans were exactly as primitive as we assessed them to be." Councillor Thrak, the massive rock-like being from the military committee, rumbled his confusion. "How does a species advance from primitive chemical rockets to interstellar colonization in 50 years? Even our most advanced species required centuries to make such progress." "Perhaps," suggested Councillor Yathara, her golden leaves rustling with worry, "we should make direct contact with the humans and ask them to explain." This suggestion caused even more discussion. Direct contact with a primitive species was a serious step that required careful consideration and extensive preparation. "I believe," said Morthak, "that direct contact is indeed necessary. We need to understand what has happened and ensure that proper protocols are being followed." The Council voted to send an official diplomatic mission to humanity. The task fell to Ambassador Kreltan of the Diplomatic Corps, a being whose species was known for their skill at first contact situations. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Kreltan's ship arrived in the Sol system. What he found there surprised him even more than the reports had suggested. The solar system was bustling with activity. Human ships moved between Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt in regular patterns. Space stations orbited several planets. Most shocking of all, the human ships were clearly using some form of faster-than-light drive technology. though it was unlike anything in the galactic databases. Kreltan sent a diplomatic message to Earth, requesting a meeting with human leadership. The response came back within hours, written in perfect galactic standard and transmitted on frequencies that humans should not have known how to use. Ambassador Kreltan, the message read, "We would be honored to meet with you. Please dock at Luna Station orbiting Earth's moon. We will arrange for a reception appropriate to your diplomatic status." Luna Station turned out to be a massive space facility that had not existed in any of the original assessments of the Sol system. As Kreltan's ship approached, he could see that the station was clearly of human construction, but it incorporated design elements from at least 6 different galactic civilizations. The human who met him at the docking bay was a middle-aged woman with short gray hair and bright, intelligent eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with insignia that Kreltan did not recognize. "Ambassador Kreltan," she said with a warm smile. "Welcome to Luna Station. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Colonial Administration." Kreltan studied the human carefully. She appeared exactly as primitive humans were supposed to appear, but there was something in her eyes that suggested depths of knowledge that should not have been possible. "Ambassador Chen," he replied, "I must admit I am confused by what I have observed. Our records indicate that your species was incapable of interstellar travel as recently as 50 years ago." Sarah Chen's smile grew wider. "That is correct, Ambassador. 50 years ago, we had never traveled beyond our own solar system. Would you like some coffee? It is a human beverage that many species find pleasant." They settled into a comfortable meeting room overlooking Earth. Through the large windows, Kreltan could see the blue and green planet spinning slowly below them. "How?" Kreltan asked simply. "How did your species advance so quickly?" Sarah Chen sipped her coffee thoughtfully before answering. "We got a little creative with the engineering," she said. "And we borrowed some concepts from galactic databases." "What galactic databases?" asked Kreltan. "Humans should not have access to any galactic databases." "Oh, we do not have direct access," Sarah replied cheerfully. "But when you study something carefully enough, you can learn quite a lot about it. Your assessment team was very thorough in their scans 50 years ago. We learned a great deal from observing their equipment." Kreltan felt a chill run through his body. "You observed the assessment team?" "Of course," said Sarah. "A ship appears in our solar system using unknown technology, scans our entire planet for 3 days, and then leaves. We would have been foolish not to pay attention." "But you were primitive," Kreltan protested. "You had no technology capable of detecting our stealth systems." "You are right," Sarah agreed. "We had no technology capable of detecting your stealth systems, so we built some." The implications of this statement hit Kreltan like a physical blow. A species that could reverse engineer galactic stealth technology from brief observation was not primitive. It was terrifying. "In 50 years," Sarah continued conversationally, "we have established colonies in 12 star systems, developed our own faster-than-light drive technology, and begun trade relationships with several merchant species who were willing to deal with us discreetly." "Trade relationships?" Kreltan's voice was barely a whisper. "Oh yes," said Sarah. "It turns out that many species are quite interested in human art, music, and literature. We have been exchanging cultural items for technical information. Everyone benefits." Kreltan realized that he was in the presence of something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that had advanced from primitive to interstellar in 5 decades through pure determination and ingenuity. "Ambassador Chen," he said carefully, "I must ask about your intentions. The Galactic Council will want to know what humanity plans to do with its new capabilities." Sarah Chen set down her coffee cup and looked directly at Kreltan. For a moment her cheerful expression became something more serious. "Ambassador," she said, "humanity has no hostile intentions toward the galactic community. We are grateful for the gift of the Kepler system, and we hope to become productive members of galactic civilization. We simply want to explore, learn, and grow." Her smile returned. "Although I should mention that we have already outgrown the Kepler system. We will need more space soon." Kreltan returned to Nexus Prime with a report that would change everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about humanity. The species they had dismissed as harmless had become something entirely unexpected. Equals. The growing unease. 25 years had passed since Ambassador Kreltan's shocking report about human expansion. In those years, strange reports had been filtering in from across the galaxy. Reports that made many species uncomfortable, though none could quite explain why. On the trading world of Vorthala Prime, merchant Captain Zilna reviewed her cargo manifest with growing confusion. Her ship had just returned from a routine trading mission to the human colonies, and the results defied all logic. "Computer," she said to her ship's artificial intelligence, "display the before and after scans of the human mining operation on Kepler 442c. Two holographic images appeared side by side. The first showed a small human mining facility from 2 years ago. The second showed the same location as it appeared now. Where once there had been a simple collection of buildings and basic equipment, now there was a massive industrial complex that looked like it could supply half the galaxy with rare metals. Computer, how long should it take to construct such a facility using standard galactic engineering methods? Estimated construction time, 47 years, assuming adequate resources and experienced construction crews. And how long has it been since we were last here? 2 years, 4 months, 16 days? Zilna stared at the images. She had been trading with various species for 3 centuries, and she had never seen anything like this. Somehow the humans had built in 2 years what should have taken nearly 50. But that was not the strangest part. The strangest part was that the new facility incorporated design elements from at least 12 different galactic civilizations. Elements that humans should not have known how to use. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we are receiving a message from the human facility director." "Put it through," said Zilna. A holographic image of a human appeared on the bridge. The human was a young man with brown hair and friendly eyes. He wore a simple work uniform, but something about his expression suggested deep intelligence. "Captain Zilna," the human said with a warm smile, "welcome back to Kepler 442c. I am Director Marcus Webb. I hope you are pleased with the improvements we have made to our facility." "Director Webb," replied Zilna carefully, "I must admit I am surprised by the extent of your expansion. How did you manage to build so much so quickly?" The human's smile grew wider. "We had some help," he said. "Your people have been very generous with advice and technical information. We also got some ideas from the Veltar trade mission that visited us last year, and the Zephyrian engineers who helped us design our new atmospheric processors." Zilna felt a chill run through her. The Veltar and the Zephyrians were 2 of the most advanced engineering civilizations in the galaxy. If they were sharing knowledge with humans, "We would like to place a much larger order this time," Director Webb continued. "We are expanding to 6 new worlds in the next year, and we will need extensive supplies." 6 new worlds? Zilna's voice was barely a whisper. "Oh yes," said Webb cheerfully. "The Galactic Council has been very generous in granting us additional territory. They seem quite pleased with our progress." After the trade negotiations were complete, Zilna set course for Nexus Prime. She needed to speak with the Galactic Council immediately. Meanwhile, in the crystal halls of the Galactic Council itself, Councillor Zexhai was having troubles of his own. The aging Veltar had been asked to investigate reports of unauthorized technology transfers, and what he had found disturbed him greatly. "Councillor Yathara," he said to his old colleague, "I need to speak with you privately." The tree-like being rustled her golden leaves nervously. "Of course, Zexhai. What troubles you?" They moved to a secure conference room where they could speak without being overheard. "I have been investigating the reports about human technological advancement," Zexhai began. "What I have found suggests that we may have made a serious error in our assessment of this species." "What kind of error?" asked Yathara. Zexhai activated a holographic display showing technical schematics. "These are designs for a faster-than-light drive system that the humans developed. At first glance, it appears to be based on principles they could have discovered independently. But," prompted Yathara, "but when you examine the design closely, you can see elements borrowed from 17 different galactic civilizations, not copied but adapted and improved. The humans have taken the best features from every technology they have encountered and combined them into something new." Yathara studied the schematics carefully. "That should be impossible. No species has ever mastered the technologies of so many different civilizations." "That is not the worst part," continued Zexhai. "The worst part is that their design is actually better than any of the original technologies they borrowed from. They have not just copied our work, they have improved on it." The implications of this statement hung in the air between them. A species that could improve on the best work of multiple advanced civilizations was not primitive. It was dangerous. There is more, said Zexhai. I have been reviewing reports from across the galaxy. In the past 25 years, we have seen an unprecedented period of peace and stability. The Korthag Empire has not launched a single aggressive action. The Zephyrian war clans have focused entirely on peaceful trade. The Crystal Collective has not expanded their territory by a single star system. That is wonderful news, said Yathara. Why does it trouble you? Because in every case, the peace was achieved through human intervention. Human cultural exchange programs have been present in every major conflict zone. Human research expeditions have somehow solved ancient disputes that had persisted for millennia. Zexhai activated another display, this one showing a map of the galaxy with human activities marked in bright yellow. Look at this pattern, he said. Humans are not just expanding randomly. They are strategically positioning themselves at every major trade route, every important resource node, and every potential conflict zone in the galaxy. Yathara's leaves rustled with growing alarm. You think they are planning something? I think they have been planning something from the very beginning, replied Zexhai. Remember, humans observed our original assessment mission. They knew exactly how we would classify them. They knew we would underestimate them. But why would they want us to underestimate them? Zexhai was quiet for a long moment before answering. Because underestimation is the greatest advantage any species can have. While we were treating them as harmless primitives, they were studying us, learning from us, and positioning themselves to become the most influential species in the galaxy. As if to emphasize his point, an aide rushed into the conference room carrying an urgent message. Counselors, the aide said breathlessly, we have just received word from the Korthak Empire. They are requesting human mediation in a border dispute with the Crystal Collective. They specifically asked for human negotiators, saying that humans are the only species both sides trust. Zexhai and Yathara looked at each other with growing understanding. When did this happen? Asked Yathara. The request was submitted an hour ago, replied the aide. But according to the embassy logs, human diplomatic staff were already en route to the disputed system. They left 3 days ago. After the aide left, Zexhai and Yathara sat in stunned silence. They knew, whispered Yathara. Somehow they knew about the dispute before the parties involved had even decided to ask for mediation. The question is, said Zexhai grimly, what else do they know that we do not? The revelation. The alarms in the Galactic Council chambers had not sounded in over 300 years. The last time had been during the Great War of the Outer Spiral, when half the galaxy had been consumed in conflict. Now they were sounding again, and Counselor Morthak struggled to understand why. Report! He bellowed as he rushed into the emergency command center beneath the council chambers. Admiral Grextor of the Confederation Navy stood before a massive tactical display, his forearms moving rapidly across the control interface. His species, the Krathen, were known as the finest military strategists in the galaxy, and the expression on his face was one of complete shock. Sir, Grextor said, his voice tight with disbelief. The Korthak Empire has launched a full-scale invasion of Confederation space. Over 10,000 ships advancing on a broad front toward the core worlds. Morthak stared at the display. Red dots representing enemy ships covered nearly a quarter of the tactical map. It was the largest military assault in galactic history. How many ships do we have in position to respond? Asked Morthak. Approximately 3,000 in the outer sectors, replied Grextor. We can have reinforcements from the core worlds within 6 hours, but the Korthak will reach the civilian populations long before then. The situation was catastrophic. The Korthak Empire had been quietly building their fleet for decades, while the galaxy had enjoyed its unprecedented period of peace. Now they were striking with overwhelming force when the Confederation was least prepared. Sir, called out a communications officer, we are receiving a transmission from the human territories. Put it through, ordered Morthak. The holographic image of Ambassador Sarah Chen appeared in the command center. She looked exactly as she had 25 years earlier, though Morthak knew that was impossible. Humans were supposed to age much faster than that. Counselor Morthak, Sarah said calmly, we are aware of the Korthak invasion. We are moving to intercept their fleet. Ambassador Chen, replied Morthak desperately. I appreciate the offer, but this is a military matter. The Korthak have over 10,000 ships. Even if you commit your entire fleet, you would be vastly outnumbered. Sarah's smile was gentle but confident. Counselor, you may be surprised by what humanity is capable of when properly motivated. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in confused silence. How many ships do the humans have? Asked Morthak. Grextor checked his databases. According to our last intelligence reports, approximately 200 ships, all small vessels designed for exploration and trade. 200 ships against 10,000, muttered Morthak. This is madness. For the next hour they watched the tactical display with growing dread. The Korthak fleet was advancing steadily toward the core worlds, brushing aside the few Confederation ships that tried to delay them. The human fleet was also visible on the display, moving to intercept the invaders, but their small number of ships looked pathetic compared to the massive enemy armada. Then something impossible happened. Sir, called out a sensor operator, I am detecting massive energy readings from the human fleet. What kind of energy readings? Asked Grextor. I do not know, sir. The patterns are unlike anything in our databases. On the tactical display, the human ship suddenly accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible. In minutes they had crossed distances that should have taken hours. Are those readings accurate? Demanded Morthak. Confirmed, sir. The human ships are moving at speeds that exceed our fastest vessels by a factor of 10. The first contact between the human and Korthak fleets occurred in the Rigel system. Everyone in the command center expected it to be over quickly. The humans were outnumbered 50-1. Instead, the impossible happened again. Sir, the sensor operator's voice was shaking. The Korthak fleet is gone. What do you mean, gone? Asked Grextor. I mean destroyed, sir. All of them. Over 10,000 ships eliminated in less than 6 minutes. The command center fell into stunned silence. The tactical display showed empty space where the massive Korthak fleet had been just moments before. Only the small human fleet remained, regrouping in perfect formation. That is impossible, whispered Grextor. No weapon in the galaxy is capable of destroying so many ships so quickly. A new transmission came in from Ambassador Chen. This time, her image appeared not just in the command center, but in the main council chambers above, visible to all the representatives who had gathered for the emergency session. Counselors, Sarah said, her tone still calm and friendly. The Korthak threat has been neutralized. Their fleet has been destroyed and their remaining forces are withdrawing to their home territory. How? Asked Morthak, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah's smile took on a different quality. It was still warm, but there was something else in it now, something that made every being in the command center feel suddenly very small. Counselor, she said, I believe it is time for complete honesty between our peoples. A new holographic display activated, showing detailed technical schematics of human military technology. The weapon systems shown were beyond anything the galactic community had ever imagined. 100 years ago, Sarah continued, your assessment team visited Earth and classified humanity as harmless. That assessment was entirely accurate at the time. She paused, letting this sink in. However, your team made one critical error. They assumed that a species classified as harmless would remain harmless. They failed to consider what might happen if that species dedicated itself entirely to becoming less harmless. More displays activated, showing the true extent of human expansion across the galaxy. What the Galactic Council had thought were small colonies were actually massive industrial complexes. What they had thought were trade missions were actually intelligence-gathering operations. For 100 years, Sarah said, humanity has been studying every aspect of galactic civilization. We learned from your technologies, your strategies, your strengths, and most importantly, your weaknesses. You have been spying on us, accused Counselor Vextra. We have been learning from you, corrected Sarah. Everything we know, we learned from willing teachers. Every technology we developed from principles you shared with us through trade and cultural exchange. But the weapons, protested Admiral Grextor. Those weapons are beyond anything we have ever seen. Yes, agreed Sarah. Because we had an advantage that no other species in galactic history has ever had. We had teachers who were so confident in their superiority that they never imagined their students might surpass them. The truth was finally clear to everyone in the command center. Humanity had not been harmless. They had been patient. They had spent a century appearing weak while becoming strong, appearing primitive while becoming advanced. appearing grateful while becoming independent. "What do you want?" asked Morthak. Sarah's expression became serious. "We want what we have always wanted, counselor. Peace, prosperity, and the chance to explore the universe. The difference is that now we have the power to ensure we get those things." "Are you threatening us?" demanded Counselor Thrak. "Not at all," replied Sarah. "We are offering you partnership. Humanity has no desire to rule the galaxy. We simply want to be treated as equals rather than as pets." She gestured to the tactical display, where the debris of the Korthak fleet was still cooling in space. "The galaxy is full of genuine threats," she said. "Species like the Korthak who seek conquest through violence. Humanity proposes to serve as the galaxy's immune system, dealing with such threats before they can harm peaceful civilizations." "And in return?" asked Morthak. "In return, we want full membership in the Galactic Council, equal representation in all galactic institutions, and the right to expand our territory as needed to maintain galactic security." Sarah's smile returned to its earlier warmth. "Thank you for the planet's counselors," she said. "We have put them to good use building the infrastructure we needed. Now shall we discuss humanity's new role in galactic affairs?" As the transmission ended, Morthak looked around the command center at the faces of his colleagues. All of them showed the same expression, the dawning realization that the galaxy's newest apex predator had been hiding in plain sight, fed and nurtured by their own arrogance. The age of human harmlessness was over. The age of human leadership had begun,